Hi, my name is Franklin, and I'm excited to welcome you to our tribe. We are more than just a group, we are a community of passionate people driven by nothing but the love for what we do and the commitment to show up daily. Here, learners and professionals, career switchers, job seekers come together to grow in DevOps, cloud engineering, and IT skills. So we share strategies for learning interviews, breaking into the industry for beginners, irrespective of whether you are a beginner who is just getting their foot out the door into the industry, or a beginner who just got started, an intermediary, an advanced or senior engineer. We are a community, we are a tribe. Our goal is to support each other with prep sections for interviews, real talks, and encourage us as we continue to build and develop ourselves and our skills in the industry. So it is part study hub, part career accelerator, and part hangout spot with a vibe that keeps you motivated and connected at the same time. So if you're looking for a place where growth meets community, and where your journey is celebrated and not judged, you have found it. So once again, I want to welcome you to CloudMasters Hub.
So when a lot of people hear about DevOps, what comes to their mind is a set of tools they have to learn. But understanding what DevOps is really about is very important, because DevOps is not just about tool, it's about culture, it's about collaboration, it's about automation, and it's about bridging the gap between developers and operation. The word DevOps itself, as well as the career path or the career, was actually coined out from the two words dev and ops, development and operation. So the role of a DevOps in an IT firm is there to bridge the gap between the developers and the operation. And nowadays, it has escalated into different other fields, into different areas. What are the things that you should have in your tool belt as far as skill set are concerned? That's the purpose of this call we are having now, like this, to have a skill set check, right? Checklist. Yes. So before you actually, when you have studied and you have learned and done what you need to do, before you start sending out applications to the job market, you need to have these particular skill sets that are the baseline skill set for a DevOps engineer. And when you have these skill sets, it opens you up to not just a DevOps role. When you have these skill sets, it opens you up to many other roles that we're going to see after we discuss the particular skill set in question. Now, one of them is the fundamental skill set. On the fundamental, first of all, start with understanding what DevOps is, the foundation of DevOps, the DevOps principles and DevOps practices. You have to understand the principle and understand the practices. Now, under that aspect, we talk about the Linux, understanding some of the skill set you need to have in your skill. I'm sure you have an idea of what Linux is. Linux is an operating system, and it is the operating system of the cloud. All cloud platforms runs on Linux. Even your Android mobile phone runs on Linux, and a lot of other systems run on Linux. Embedded system could mean the system that is running on something like your clock. For example, if you have a digital clock, there could be an embedded system running on your clock. So Linux is everywhere. If you want to become a cybersecurity engineer, you need Linux. If you want to become a cloud engineer, a platform engineer, you want to become a site reliability engineer, in everywhere you need Linux. Even a developer, you need Linux. So you have Linux. Git is a source code management. It's used for collaboration. Developers, and when you're working in an IT firm, there is a lot of collaboration between different stakeholders within the team. Within the team, you have developers, you have DevOps engineer, security engineer, database engineer, all one not. So for that particular team to be able to collaborate on maybe a single project or manage different projects, they need a source code management to be able to track changing. And when it comes to development, a lot of developers are working on one particular code base, and they are doing changes. All of them are doing changes most of the time at once on that same particular code base. It becomes the role of a DevOps engineer to be able to manage that collaboration. You manage the code base, so you should understand Git. Now, another thing you need to understand is scripting. There is scripting, is concept of scripting. When it comes to scripting, you understand bash scripting, which is based on Linux. Bash scripting or shell scripting, you understand Python scripting. Python is one of the simple but very popular programming language, easy to learn as well. So you have to understand Python scripting, the basic, at least the basics. And so that is it for that. They need to understand CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery. So on the CI/CD, the C stand for continuous, the I stands for integration, and the CD is written as CI/CD. The other C stands for continuous again. Continuous delivery. The D stands for either delivery or deployment. It could stand on delivery or deployment depending on how the implementation is done. The D can be delivery if manual approval is involved in the process. It is deployment if you're practicing automated deployment. So you'll get to understand what that means. So you need to understand how you need to be able to build a CI/CD pipeline because integration simply means developers are writing their code, and as long as they push their code, remember I talked about Git, which is a source code management. Developers write their code and push it to that Git. So you as a DevOps engineer, you build a CI/CD pipeline such that their code are automatically tested, their code are automatically built, scan against security and any form of vulnerability. So as a DevOps engineer, you do that particular you build a CI/CD pipeline because all applications that you use, for example, the bank application you use on your phone, it has been built, or the ones you use on the website you go visit. That particular application is built in multiple languages, and when its code is written, you package as a DevOps engineer. You need to package them into package. But now you use tools that do all of that automatically. And Jenkins is at the center. Jenkins is a tool which is one of the key tools we're going to learn for CI/CD. Is a key tool in the middle of that for continuous integration. Now, for continuous deployment, we're going to use Argo CD. Argo CD is used for deploying. Okay, I've done a sample project in my home lab here where through all of these are kind of a sneak peek. Okay, the one is containerization. Containerization, we have Docker and we have Kubernetes. Docker is used for containerization, and Kubernetes is used for orchestration. I mean, want to single one most important tool a DevOps engineer should have is Kubernetes. I would say the most demanding apart from as jobs are concerned. It's one of the most demanding tool that a DevOps engineer should have. So we have that Docker. Docker simply means that you're packaging your application into packages that are called image, and they are deployed into containers. Container is simply a version of image in its running state. And now you need to also understand cloud platforms. Example of cloud platforms include AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle has its own, and there are many others. But these are the main ones that you should know at least one. We'll probably look at let's say three of them, but we'll primarily focus on AWS. We'll look at how to create resources on AWS. Some of the resources you'll be creating will be like instances, creating networking AWS, like the VPC on AWS, creating EC2 instances. Those are virtual machines on the cloud. Understanding the principle of cloud as well. What is a cloud? What are some of the advantages that a cloud brings? So understanding that cloud platform. Again, you can become a cloud engineer or a platform engineer. So these are other job roles. You can become an AWS engineer. You can become a build release engineer. That's why when you learn Jenkins, you can apply for roles that talks about build engineers. So you can become a build and release engineer. You can be a cloud platform engineer where you are just build on creating resources on their cloud platform. The company is using AWS, means you're a cloud platform engineer on AWS, yes, or on Azure or on any of the cloud platform. Now, the next skill we'll look at is infrastructure code. First of all, infrastructure. Again, you can become an infrastructure engineer, meaning you automate the provisioning of resources on cloud platforms or on it doesn't really matter if it's on the cloud because there are companies that use either a hybrid approach. Approach means that they have a mix of cloud and on-prem. They have their own on-prem compute resources. For example, they could store their database in their own on-prem computers and link to some other resources that they're using on, or compute resources that they're using on cloud, any other cloud platform. So that is called a hybrid approach. But if you're just based on cloud, you're using the cloud approach. There are companies too that only use on-prem. They don't use any of the cloud platform. They have their own on-prem. They call it on-prem. It's like their computer resources. They have everything on their computer in their on-prem environment. So infrastructure as code is concerned, we're going to, again, when you talk about infrastructure as code, like about infrastructure, when I talk about cloud engineer, you're creating resources on AWS. But most of the time, when you talk about creating resources, you're going on their platform and manually creating all of those things, like on the dashboard and click buttons, maybe create VPC, assign this, and so on. You're doing that manually. But when you talk about infrastructure as code, we are taking it to the next level because you're writing code. It's like you're writing a recipe, for example. Let's say you're a master chef, right? You're a master chef. You write a recipe, but you have cooks. You don't touch fire, but you're the expert. You write a recipe, you don't get your hands dirty with oil in the kitchen and so on. But you write specific recipe or as how you want a particular dish to be cooked, right? And those cooks now go in, put, I mean, as detailed as how many grains of salt they should put, how many teaspoons of maybe pepper and so and all of that. You write that detailed information. They go about it, they go and implement it. So infrastructure as code is your infrastructure in the form of code. And we are going to look at Terraform is a tool that is used to do that. Ansible, when after writing, you need to do configuration. So we use Ansible, which is a tool for configuration. And then the next one we look at is monitoring. When it comes to monitoring, monitoring is being able to ensure the reliability of the system. You can be employed as well just as a monitoring engineer because you are there to ensure the reliability of system. So you provision monitoring and logging systems such that you are able to see issues before they actually arise in the system and you're able to fix them. So that's the role of monitoring. And last but one, we have security. So understanding security best practices all along the line from your very beginning when we talk about the Git, talking about the Linux system, you need to understand security and best practices along the line, all of this path. So, but now I talked about some of the and then again collaboration. There is an aspect of collaboration. The collaboration part talks about how you're able to work along with different teams, manage teams and work along different teams. Because as a DevOps engineer, you're basically kind of a manager. But one big mistake a lot of people make is trying to chase every tool they hear out there. So, but the focus for our focus approach is first of all, principle first, and then applying those principles in real world type of scenario. Because if you go in an interview and they ask you a question and it's something that you have hands-on experience on, they are able to read your experience they're able to read experience if you have actually done it or it's just something you just learn by knowledge. Like you watch a video and they talk about maybe Jenkins. This is how you implement Jenkins. So there are types of questions that they can ask you and know that this person is just talking from head knowledge kind of thing. So we are going to be heavy hands on. So some of the next best steps to take, like which we're going to be heavy on, is building projects. So we're going to build a complete CI/CD pipeline project, deploy applications, real applications like the one I'm going to show you now, work Docker and Kubernetes, and we're going to build end-to-end automation processes with Terraform and configuration with Ansible. So we'll learn how to write Ansible and so on. And then at the end of the day, we'll do
CI/CD or CI/CD.
huh?
CCB or CICD?
CICD. D as in delivery.
D for dog. Okay.
Yeah, D for dog. Mhm. Okay, so yeah, where and then after we have done these basics and done hands-on projects, we will continue working in the community with different projects, doing interviews, asking the kind of interviews, work together on your LinkedIn profile, your resume, work together on how to applying for jobs and even in support when you have interview, the kind of support we can give you while preparing for interview and so on. Just with the at the end of the day, the goal is to maximize every opportunity for interview that we have. So, and again, of course, that's exactly what we have that community. So this training is focused on nailing those principles and hands-on. It's focused on nailing the principles and the hands-on, and then we can now move forward to uh, practice, practice, practice. So again, it's going to be majoritarily hands-on. We'll be heavy on hands-on. Let me share my screen here. Let me start with the okay. Now the application is running on my home lab, but it's not different from when you're running on the cloud. This is the application. It's online. You can access it from anywhere. Yeah, I see some errors are popping up because it's still under development. So I built all of this from scratch. Yes. So, but now the work of a DevOps engineer is not to build the application, is to deploy the application. So I just had to build it because it's a project I'm interested in pursuing forward and moving with, and then the deployment part is what I really want us to see. Now, when you talk about deploying, what are the things that are involved in this? The first thing is that when you go inside the application, on a Linux system, Ubuntu. This when we talk about learning Linux, in your Windows computer, you use your mouse to move and click buttons. That's called the GUI, right? The graphical user interface, where you move around with your mouse and click buttons and your computer does things. With the Linux operating system, you type command with the command, you use command line. With the Linux operating system, you use command line. So here I'm using Ubuntu. So you can even see the version of the operating system if I was running a window for me to see the version of my operating system, I'll just go to this computer, right click in this computer, and then it will show me the version of the window I'm running, maybe Windows 11 and stuff like that. But with everything is done with command and do cat etc cat release. The cat start release. You see that is running name Ubuntu. It's running Ubuntu. Again, ID here is Ubuntu. So with Linux, we are learning all of these commands because when you go on AWS and create virtual machines, they become like this. They could be Linux comes in different they call it distributions. Ubuntu is one popular home version of this thing of Linux. You have many other flavors or distributions. So, but we are going to base on Ubuntu. Now, when you learn Ubuntu, you're able to do almost everything we are doing. You're doing it inside the Ubuntu system. Now, that application I talked about, if I go to project, so for me to navigate to a folders in Linux are called directories. For me to navigate, you see that I type a command, navigation command. So CD is a navigation command. So I'm navigating to project, and inside project, I can now go to particular project like CloudMasters Hub is this project that I am on. So let's say this is where developers write their code. Front end developers write their code in the front end. This is the front end code base. Meanwhile, if I navigate backward and go to back end, so back end developers write their code in the back end code base. But now they write their code, and after writing their code, they do git push. So if I do git push in this directory, it will tell me that everything is up to date, meaning that everything has been put. There are no changes that has been done in this directory. So, but if I just do something like touch, or if I do something like just create a temporary file, echo, let's see, I create a temporary file and put some text inside. This is a temp file, not important, just for test. Not important, just for test. And I'm echoing it into, I put this text inside a file, create a file called temp.test or txt, temp.txt. So I've just created a new file in this directory. And if I do git status, you see that it tells me that it does no longer tell me that everything is up to date because there is a change in the system. So, but now when I do git commit, that means I want to add this change to my existing change. Say add uh, temp txt. So if I do git status again, you see that it's telling me that it's being tracked now, but it's being tracked in my local repository. So if I do git commit dash m, means I add a commit message, means this is not an important change. So this is not an important change, just for me to know that, I mean, not an important change. And now this is where this is where the work of the developer ends and your work take over. As the developer does this thing by doing git push, your setup, your automated setup takes over from there. So if say git push, so the developers has pushed the code. Now what this command does is that this code now is going to a Git repository, which is a remote Git repository, which is online. That's where it's a collaboration platform where all developers write code and it goes to store on. There are different types of Git or services. You have GitHub, you have GitLab, and you have, I mean, the two main popular ones. Companies can even create their own Git repository, remote and local. But what happens is that when they push this code now, that is where we talk about the CI/CD pipeline. It comes into play. That code need to be packaged because it's going to, let's say this code that we just did, that the developer did, was to add a new feature in the application, in the banking application. Maybe they wanted to make it such that when, for example, let's say Remittant is a Remittant app, this app that you use to transfer money maybe to Africa or transfer money. Maybe before, when you send money, you have to wait for your application. You have to wait for your money before they send you a notification and say, okay, your money has reached the person you are sending to. But now these developers have just worked on a new feature where when you send money, you can see the tracking. It shows you an arrow telling you that your money is going, and it's showing you the next status that your money is. So it's like giving you tracking for your money. Or maybe a UPS application where you send your luggage and you have a tracking feature where they can tell you, okay, it's this stage, it's at this point, it has landed at the airport, or it's in the warehouse in Beaumont or in Riverside, and then it's out for delivery. So you can be able to see that update. So this feature that has been deployed is to do that. But now it needs to be built in order to join the application, the live application that users are already accessing. So what happens at this point is this. At this point, what happens is that it has to be packaged. So they are package management where we talk about, if it's a Java application, we talked about Maven. We talk about maybe Gradle. We talk about Gradle if it's a Java application. So those are package management. Now, after packaging the application, what happens now is that, and this is the work of Jenkins. So let me show you now inside our Jenkins. Jenkins job should already uh, been because of that push that we did. Jenkins job is triggered automatically because Jenkins communicate with Git using webhooks. So if we look at our back end, if it has not triggered already, it will trigger in a few moments. This is how the Jenkins dashboard looks like. When developers push their code, it goes through all of this process. The build process I talked about, containerization, and then triggering the GitHub processes where Argo CD now does continuous deployment. And again, when this process is completed, the next step will be the Argo step, Argo CD. This is our Argo CD dashboard. So this is the back end again. When those changes, when the build is successful, it will trigger will trigger deployment. So all of these processes are automated, meaning you just have to sit and watch and make sure that everything is working smoothly. You don't need to intervene in anything except you want to do continuous delivery, manual approval. Maybe there are some approval gates that you have to go through. But when it comes to integration, uh, code quality analysis, lean tests, and builds, all of that, they run automatically in your pipeline. So in a few minutes, in 1 or 2 minutes, a new build will be generated, and Argo CD will take over, deploy it, and we'll be able to see the change. If that change was actually maybe to affect, let's say, to change the color of a dashboard or add a new feature, users will begin to see that new feature live in their application as they use it. Okay, you see, this is a build that I started here. I was just trying to give you like a big picture view. Of course, when looking about the CI/CD containerization, all of that, those are kind of they're very alien as far since you have not done this before. But this is like the to end of what we're going to go through, and this is what you should be able to achieve. I was just giving you a big picture of what you'll be able to do after we go through the process. Again, when this finish building, Argo CD will be triggered, and that will be it. The application is live. That is the work of end-to-end work of a DevOps engineer. Yeah, so that is it. So do you have any question?
The question I want to ask is number one, how much are you charging? You say you had like 6 hours interview.
Mhm.
Yeah, like stages, then it must have been rigorous. I'm
Yeah,
sure they would have asked many questions and stuff like that.
yes, I'm not going to say that it's when you just go for interview, they just pick a job and give you. That's why the training is important, because we have to learn the skills that are needed. When you have the skills and you go to interview, you're going with confidence. You're going with confidence. So we want to build that confidence. At this moment, I don't expect that, okay, you should go for an interview and then, I mean, of the questions in an interview when you have not gone through the training. But of course, with the training, it should become second nature. It should become easy. Okay, that's what I talked about LinkedIn, right? I talked about LinkedIn. You optimize your LinkedIn. There are companies that will reach out to you.
How do you optimize your LinkedIn?
Okay, that's one of the things we are going to do again. So if I go on my LinkedIn profile now, you can see my LinkedIn. Yes. So we're going to look at how to optimize your LinkedIn like this, so that, I mean, we're reaching out to you, and again, or you applying. So for example, if you go in LinkedIn job part, you'll see jobs. This is cloud engineer. So in Orange County, California, the salary for this one is up to 150K per year, 150,000 for this in cloud engineer. The site reliability engineer, for this one, the salary is between 140 and 180. Where is it? Is in Irvine, California. So this one, you have entry level position DevOps, entry level, $20 per hour. I mean, you can take this one just to get experience. And it is in Calabasa. I don't know where that is. Calabasas, California. And again, it's
Yeah.
easy to apply. With the easy to apply, you don't need to fill. If you have already updated your this thing, if you have already updated your LinkedIn, you can just click this button like this, easy to apply, and take continue applying. You see, most of this information are filled automatically because I've updated my information. So I'm done applying for that job. So don't be surprised that they can call me tomorrow and say, okay, they want to have an interview, or they send me an email and say they want to have an interview with me. If you get see all of these things, I'm done applying for that job. Again, they reach out to you after looking at your resume. The goal is you optimize your resume to look good, such that it will reflect what the people it will reflect what the people are looking. So again, we'll go even further to look at how you can use AI to optimize. So it shows I've already applied for this job, so I don't need to apply again. So and then if you click here to see more, I can click here to see more. This one is senior Linux system admin. So after completing this class, you should be able to even work as a Linux admin. But this one is in Arizona. If I'm open to relocating for a job, I can take it, and I can choose to look for jobs which are only remote, or jobs who have only easy apply. Meaning that I don't want to go through the rigorous process of maybe uploading my resume, doing things. With the easy apply, I just click buttons and apply for a job. So this one again is in San Francisco, in the Bay Area. Again, you see CICD. See, okay.
Did you pay for premium?
I paid my premium. If I open my LinkedIn initially, you would have seen that it asking me to pay, but I have canceled my premium. I was using premium for the last how many should I say weeks or so. So, but I canceled it. So I'm using.
Well, the question on that is, how did you optimize it? Which tool did you use to optimize the premium, your LinkedIn page?
When they talk about optimizing, for example, it's putting in the right keywords, the right text, writing a good description, all of that, which are things that we are going to work on to make sure that it's optimized at the end of the day. So, like at about CI/CD, you see that this role, your responsibility, part responsibility with development, okay, partner development for a development team and DevOps team to design a style continuous integration, continuous delivery, CI/CD pipeline. That's the first thing they talk about here. So you see that this is the key responsibility for this role, for this particular role, and it's a site reliability engineering role. So you see they'll talk about different things. So to summarize, say operation, you should be good at Linux, Red Hat Linux is just the same thing we'll talk about. You talk about Git like GitHub. We talk about Jenkins that we talk about. You should know either Jenkins, GitLab, or Circle C. So, but now we are going to learn this Jenkins instead. I talk about SonarQube, like for quality analysis. I talk about Docker. I talk about Kubernetes. I talk about Terraform. I talk about Ansible. I talk about monitoring for monitoring Datadog, Prometheus, and Grafana. Then for programming, I talked about Python. So you see that for this role with just that complete and you can apply for this. If your resume is well optimized, you'll be called and you start getting interaction with hiring managers, have interview with them. So again, I just go about clicking buttons. They may ask me uh, experience with Solanium. So at the end
So
of
the
the
premium that makes it fast to apply like that, or the easy apply. But even easy apply, you have to click on something.
Yeah, you just need to choose the job. I'm using the easy apply. You just need to choose the job and then go through step by step process because you have already uploaded your resume. So it's either you go about applying like this or companies will reach out to you. Another strategy is that you can go by let's say recruiters that are actually hiring. When recruiters are hiring, you will see this sign on them. This is a recruiter here who is hiring. If you look closely, if I open her profile, you see hiring. If I open her profile, you see hiring. So because of this, I went through their platform and saw like, okay, she's an IT recruiter and she's hiring. Does she have a job role that reflect to that reflect to my skill? This is like today. If I come here and probably have contacts from recruiter, but just to give you like yesterday, recruiters reaching out like this reached out yesterday and say, please log into Zoom. This is okay. Thank you for providing your availability. They will call you and they will contact you and say, provide your availability. I provide availability. Thank you for providing. So we have set a schedule for Wednesday 10. Today is 4th, right? Wednesday 8 rather. On the 8th at 11 a.m. I have a 45-minute interview. with these people. It's Fox, right? Yeah, it's Fox. So I'm having a Zoom call with them to discuss my skills and how it fits with the role. So with the Fox, this thing was the role. The role is even staff level staff engineer. Staff level is more than a senior level engineer. So that's how you get out. I mean, these processes are the steps that you go through and so on. So again, if we look at like my if you look at like my you see my calendar is like book it's very busy. If I go backward, this is today 4th. Okay, now talk about that class. Today we are having that class at 8 p.m. We're having the class at 8 p.m. The second or third class at 8 p.m. But now on Monday I have an interview with another company at 6 a.m. You can see here. So the role is AWS Solution Architect. So having a primary call. This is like the stage with the recruiter. So on my calendar. Again, on that Fox on the 8th, I showed you the message booking the call with the Fox. This one is Fox interview confirmation. So my interview has been confirmed, and the person I'll be interviewing with is this person. I can go ahead and check them on LinkedIn. I can go ahead and check them on LinkedIn or send them a personal mail. So, and it comes to, again, just stuck in the pipeline on the 13th, I have another interview, video interview. This one is with what? Video interview with Trace. The company is called Trace. So just stuck in the pipeline with different interviews and so on. This is how you get the job you want. This company is Masha. Yeah, the company is Masha. Yeah, so Kali, that's what we do.
Okay, no problem.
Just to finalize, I mean, it's a class that many people give for 3,600, like 3,000 and so on. But this is the first class like we are having, the first session we are having. So most of the people that I'm having the class with, that I have now, are like my close people.
Hi, my name is Franklin, and I'm excited to welcome you to our tribe. We are more than just a group, we are a community of passionate people driven by nothing but the love for what we do and the commitment to show up daily. Here, learners and professionals, career switchers, job seekers come together to grow in DevOps, cloud engineering, and IT skills. So we share strategies for landing interviews, breaking into the industry for beginners, irrespective of whether you are a beginner who is just getting their foot at the door into the industry, or a beginner who just got started, an intermediary, an advanced or senior engineer. We are a community, we are a tribe. Our goal is to support each other with prep sections for interviews, real talks, and encourage us as we continue to build and develop ourselves and our skills in the industry. So it is part study hub, part career accelerator, and part hangout spot with a vibe that keeps you motivated and connected at the same time. So if you're looking for a place where growth meets community, and where your journey is celebrated and not judged, you have found it. So once again, I want to welcome you to CloudMasters Hub. All right, good morning, guys. Okay, I just want to do a quick rundown on the project that I'm currently working on. I call it's my CloudMasters Hub application. So to start with, I want to deploy it on my home lab, which is my development environment where I want to build the application and then deploy it. I'm still deploying it on the same home lab for now. As a matter of fact, I've started working on it. The infrastructure it's already set in place. Let me just give you a few walk around how I'm going about this. The first is I have already built infrastructure, which is my home lab. I have a Kubernetes. I have some virtual machines running. I have a Kubernetes cluster with 5 nodes, 1 master or 1 control plane, and 4 worker nodes. So just to give you a sneak peek, if I go to just to see my virtual machines, VS less. Okay, now you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 virtual machines running in my home lab, in my environment. One of those is, okay, I can start with one of those is a SonarQube server, which is running. The other one is a Jenkins server, which I use for my automated deployment CI/CD pipeline.
And the next one is the monitoring server, where I have I'm implementing Dua monitoring, Prometheus and Grafana, and also Datadog as for Dua monitoring. Now, and my monitoring it's already set in place. It's scrapping let's say metrics from my infrastructure already. And today in this video, I don't want to demonstrate that. I just want to give you a sneak peek of what is going on yet here. So I have worker node 1 for I have one master node, worker node 2, worker node 3, and worker node 4. And I can scale this worker based on workload on my environment. And that as well, I'm going to do automated scaling. Okay, like at the port at the node level. Of course, with Kubernetes, auto scaling at the port level is horizontal port auto scaling is automatic based on load. Okay, so that said, I just want to give you a sneak peek. If you do kubectl get nodes, you can see my nodes are ready and working. Like I said earlier, the control plane. Just let me clear that. I know. Okay, you can see my master node and 4 worker nodes. So if I do kubectl get ports dash all dash name spaces, you can see all the ports that are running in all namespaces. Okay, so before I get to the, okay, you can even see that my CloudMaster Hub has been configured as well. The deploy has been configured as well, has a namespace on its own, where this specific application will be running. So in this my lab, actually, I'm going to be running multiple applications because it's a test environment, right? I'm deploying multiple applications. So each application is going to be housed or let's say separated from the rest, and using namespaces, because by so doing, we're able to allocate resources and put limitations, all right? Now, all the applications are also going to be ingress through our ingress deployment here. Our ingress, okay, here. Our ingress controller here. And we have Calico for networking within the cluster. And I have installed load balancing using Metal LB. That's going to handle the load balancing, working together with the ingress controller. With the ingress controller, right? Ingress controller for the internal load balancing, and Metal LB working on the external part. Okay, so that said, now I can now build and deploy any. This is like my home environment that has been set. I can now build and deploy any application on this infrastructure. Now, currently, I've been working on this application. It's a CloudMaster Hub. It's an e-learning platform that I'm working on. It's an e-learning platform. I started, okay, I just did a rollback just to give you a sneak peek of what's happening. So that is it. You can look at, if I do ls back, you see that the back end does not have any code. You just have documentation and the Kubernetes deployment files that I've created already. It doesn't have any source code. It doesn't have any code yet for the back end, but it has documentation of what the application is supposed to entail. So if I do tree and I do back end, for example, tree backend. You see that inside tree backend, I just have the backend. This is just the database configuration, the configuration file, the database YAML file, and the deployment file. This is all you have there. And then documentation component, right? I have documented the whole application, technical architecture document. You have service integration document, project management document, like what are the different phases that I have to go through, or project management, okay, the general strategy for actually deploying. For example, one of the things documented here is the fact that I'm going to be using a micro service architecture for this backend, okay, and it's going to be Python based. So that's all you have for the backend. Subsequently, I'll document my progress on the backend as well. But for now, I just want to give you, okay, let's look at now the front end. So see, so the front end as well started with, if I do tree, I'll do tree dash L, let's say 3, and then I'll do front end. So I just want to limit it to 3 levels. When I do 3 dash L, 3 level. So it basically has, so the front end, okay, so let me clean that up. Let me do it even better. So let's take 2 level. Let's not go too deep in the tree. Okay. So basically for the front end, we have our audit JSON, our Docker compose, our Docker file, our Docker file rather. We have the Jenkins file. Now, what I want to show you is that we started with just documentation. This is like the demo. This is like the documentation of the whole stuff. Footer feature, key interactive features, user flow diagram. So those are documentation. And then again, the second thing we started with was the mockup part. That gives you how the front end is going to look like and so on. So we started with both of these two files, and now we've been able to go to the level of deploying. We started with simply documenting the project. The whole project starts with documenting. So I think documenting kind of saves you a lot of time if you're working on an application, you want to build a project. Sitting down, it might take you a lot of time sitting down and documenting your whole project as well as the processes and so on. For example, if it's a microservice-based application, what are the different microservices that this application is going to entail? What are the key services? Figure those out, document how are they going to interact together and so on. The maybe authentication service, the account service, the payment service, all of those things you have to take into account. List all those those services, and then you can now start, do a lot of the other documentation. Sit down and really think about how the application, the end product is going to look like. And when you have a bigger picture on there, you can now start working from the MVP, the minimum viable product. Think about now, what are the basic features that it needs to start with. After you've thought on a bigger picture, you narrow it down to a more, let's say, lightweight version. What would a lightweight version, what are the features, or let's say the services that this application cannot do without? And then that will make up your MVP. Okay, that said, let me give you a sneak peek. At this point of the application, we're able to do deploy, we're able to run deployment, we're able to do automatic deployment, right? So like I said, I just did a rollback. So at this point, of course, I'm deploying the application on a domain name. I don't want to go into how all of the technicalities to getting all of that, but it is, I'm using Cloudflare tunnels, right? I do Cloudflare tunnel configuration to achieve this. So you can load the website from here. So for now, we are having some issues on the front end, which is what I've been working on for a while now. The front end, the issue is that it's not loading, it's not deploying. And if you look at my builds, if I go back to my Jenkins build, if I go back to Jenkins and go to, okay, this is the front end. Now you realize that we've had quite a couple of, okay, most of them are deleted now. We had quite a couple of builds. We are currently on build number 60. I kind of rolled back because I wanted to show, I just rolled back because I wanted to give us a progressive, I was not documenting this in the first place. I want to give us a progressive workflow from where we started. Now at this point, we are getting all this, we are getting, at this point, we are getting this blank page, right? Now, let me quickly advance the build. We are on build number, if you look at the screen now, we are on build number 60. You can see after 60, 61, 62, 63, all these builds we're trying to fix this error. The next builds, the builds that came up, right, after build number 60, where the objective was to fix the fact that our app is loading a blank screen here from 61, 62, 63. All right, let me deploy 61, and then we'll see. Let me show you my deployment, my deployment file, my manifest file, right? So of course you can see it's the front end. It's deployed to the namespace, the dev namespace. The app name is the CloudMasters Hub, the tier, front end tier. We're going to be working on the back end, but the goal of what I want to show you here is I am inside a VI file, right? Okay, I've run VI. So we want to change this build to where we image to, okay, you can see here, right here, I'm deploying build number 60. Now, like I showed you on the Jenkins dashboard, we have right up to build number 69, right? So which were us fixing the problem of the widescreen. So at build number 61, normally we should have latest build here, right? But because I'm doing rollback so that we can see, so that we can fix the problem, so that we can see how we progress through how the progress went from. Okay, so I'm going to do escape, column, write and quit. So after writing and quitting, okay, so guys, at this point we have successfully deployed our one page, only the initial dashboard, the home page, right? It's working currently. We have a couple of other pages that we need to add. So, but so far, nothing, no clicks, nothing is working. The pages are not linked to anything. We're going to add a couple of other things on the menu, and we'll add a footer as well. I think our next task will be to add those two things first, and then work on a couple other pages. So stay tuned as we make progress on the project. Okay. Yeah, stay tuned as we make progress on the project. No, I mean, there's no beauty to it yet, so stay tuned, guys. Okay. The last time we were reviewing, we were looking at the builds. We're looking at the various builds that we've achieved on this project so far. We are currently on the latest build, which is build number 69. And let's see the changes we have made so far. The last time we left, this is where we were. We just had 3 items on the menus. On the menu, we had no footer and we had no other sections. Okay, I'm going to refresh because we have finally deployed the latest build. And if you look at our manifest file, we are on latest build. We are running the latest build right now. So I'm going to refresh to see the updates that comes with our latest deployments. Okay. All right, so here we are. Now on our menu, we still have our logo, we have our home, we have courses, we have lab, we have community, we have pricing. Now you realize we have login and start or get started. Now you realize that we have moved our menu from the right to the center, and we've added this login and get started part here. Now here also we've done a few changes. You can see we now have start learning free, as well as we have view courses. Now, back down here, we have why choose CloudMasters Hub. We had this session already in our previous, so now we also have a full menu, a full footer rather, with I think what it's covering now. Okay, we have a footer. You can with the subscription mail here, session here. Stay up to date with the latest. Now we have this full-fledged footer right here. Okay, those are the few changes we have made, but of course, I'm going to navigate to the other pages with full navigation as well. We have our home, of course, is here. Courses, we have also started working on the courses. You will realize, okay, let me see, courses. You realize that when you come to courses, there is no menu, there is no footer on the courses as well. And that's going to be the update for our, if you look at labs, these are labs as well, the lab section, but there's no menu, no footer, just the basic design for each of those. If I go to community as well, same thing, no footer, but with our sleek design. Pricing page, you can choose toggle between yearly and monthly pricing, no footer, and so on. So we're going to fix that aspect of footer. We're going to fix this part of the footer. Okay, so login. Of course, so when you log in, you see the demo user. We are now in as a demo user. You can look at profile. All of these things will be working on progressively. So, but if I go back to home, or let's say refresh the page, if I go to get started, it takes me there. If I go to start free, it takes me to pricing. So that's basically what we have currently, guys. So I'll be updating us as we move forward. Now, the next thing we want to tackle is making sure that all pages have menu and full navigation, right? Footer and header menu. Guys, now we do the next build, which is, we've done some commit build paragraph. So we are on build number 71. And like we said previously, this build is supposed to, the changes we've done is to add a menu to each of these pages. Navigation, to add navigation to all the pages. But after this build, what we expect is to have, after this build, what we expect to do is to have all the navigation, for example, like we have for the home page, this menu is a footer, and the menu navigation for all pages. It has the stage of building the application. When you finish building the application, you'll go through push to Docker, push the Docker image, build and push to Docker. Then you'll go to a deployment. For SonarQube, we have not implemented SonarQube in our pipeline yet. So we'll give it a few minutes. Okay, so in a few seconds, we should have our application live. Now, so the good thing I like about setting up your infrastructure or building your development pipeline before making sure everything is working as far as your development pipeline and your development environment before building is that you just get to focus on the application features and not to worry on the infrastructure on which it's running. Okay, so yeah, we have a successful build at this point. Okay, I'm on courses, so I'll reload. I expect that the menu should appear on this page and the footer as well. Okay, and there we go, courses. Now we have menu, we have footer. So we expect it to be the same for all the pages. Lab, we have menu, footer. Pricing, we have menu and footer. Okay, that was our latest deployment, the latest push. Again, we don't have a backend yet for this application, so we are using mock data, which will represent the backend. So we don't have backend yet. So at this point, of course, like I showed you earlier, the backend is still just an empty repository with just documentation, still documenting on writing a lot of documentation on how it's going to look like. So we've achieved this. So this is how our lab is going to look like when you start the lab.
Hi, my name is Franklin, and I'm excited to welcome you to our tribe. We are more than just a group, we are a community of passionate people driven by nothing but the love for what we do and the commitment to show up daily. Here, learners and professionals, career switchers, job seekers come together to grow in DevOps, cloud engineering, and IT skills. So we share strategies for landing interviews, breaking into the industry for beginners, irrespective of whether you are a beginner who is just getting their foot out the door into the industry, or a beginner who just got started, an intermediary, an advanced or senior engineer. We are a community, we are a tribe. Our goal is to support each other with prep sections for interviews, real talks, and encourage us as we continue to build and develop ourselves and our skills in the industry. So it is part study hub, part career accelerator, and part hangout spot with a vibe that keeps you motivated and connected at the same time. So if you're looking for a place where growth meets community and where your journey is celebrated and not judged, you have found it. So once again, I want to welcome you to CloudMasters Hub.